And welcome to this week's episode of the Music City Mindset. If anything sounds different, it is because we are in a different location. As you can see, we're at the beautiful Carbon Performance in the Nations, and we've got a great episode for you today. This is going to be just a very interesting conversation. We're sitting down with a fellow gym owner and talking to him. But before we do that, I've got to intro my co-host because I could never do this alone. Speaking of my fellow co-host, he's also a fellow trainer, fellow Nashville native, fellow Tennessee State Tiger, and in fact, a fellow Dodge Ram driver. So I think, in fact, the only difference between me and Deon is that he still uses a Yahoo email address.
That's it.
At Training Corner on Instagram, Mr. Deon Giddens.
Oh, dude, that might be the best one ever.
Yeah.
I mean, we both can pass for white. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
We both bald.
Yeah.
Both got the beard.
Yeah.
I
I think
I get it.
we're identical.
I think so.
Deon, another tough loss for the Mustangs, man.
Oh, tough, man. Hey, we got a bye week this week, man. So hopefully reset, get back on track. But hey, it's football. It's part of it.
It's high school football. It'll reset.
We'll fix it, man. So next 5 games be better than the first 5.
I actually got to view a good pasture game.
How did it go?
We lost.
Good.
Blocked the
Good.
game-winning field goal with 3 seconds left in the game.
Are you serious?
Yeah. One of the dads asked me, hey, what do you think we need to do, or what could we have done different to get a win, in your opinion?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I don't really know. We just used to throw it to Patrick. We just had a dog. So,
Right.
y'all
It's
got a
happened,
dog,
man.
or?
We got some dogs. We need more.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people know or realize that Lipscomb, we play in the 5th toughest division in football in the country, in high school.
It's crazy.
Like in high school, the entire nation. So it's tough. We got tough teams. We lost against some good guys, but as a coach, I see where we could be easily.
Yeah, looking at the scores of y'all's final scores, the close games, man, it makes it tough.
I mean, we lost 2 games by combined 11 points. You know what I mean? Against out-of-state teams. So, it is what it is. But, hey, that's why I coach.
It's a tough loss
and
when that
we
happens.
got to bounce back, man. It is what it is.
I'll tell you what else is tough.
What's that?
Shohei and Mookie on the same team.
Hey, man, it's a match made in heaven to me.
When you got the first ever 50-50 club and Mookie's still making headlines, I don't know what you can do. Just go ahead and give them the ship at this point.
Listen, man, I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but my thing is with the Dodgers, you have 1, 2, and 3 MVPs back to back to back. Yeah. You can't pitch around it. No. I mean, I'm repping today. You know what I mean? I'm repping. That's my guy, man. So, hey, shout out to Mook.
Shohei hadn't even started pitching yet.
Well, that's what Mook said. He ain't even pitching yet.
Yeah.
So that's why he getting paid. So I'm excited, man. Hope they make this run and get one. They need it. LA needs it. It's a great environment. Yeah. If you haven't been out to the LA Dodger game, please go out there while this show is going on. You got to go see it.
Speaking of environment, let's get into this.
Yes, let's get into this environment over here.
Let's get into our guest here. This is going to be an honor to do this. Who we are sitting down with is a husband. He is a father. He is a Piatone Blue Devil legend.
There we go, baby.
First well-known this guy as the founder of Armada Nutrition that he built from the ground up. Went from 0 to worth $250 million in 7 years. Everyone else probably knows him as the owner of multiple Carbon locations, Relive Health locations, and Raw Nutrition.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. Basically, seemingly everything he touches is just successful immediately.
The ones we talk about.
Yeah, the ones we talk about, which is why we're on the show.
That too, though. I want to hear this.
But from the outside in, if you've heard of the Midas touch, after really digging into the research of who this person is, I think we should change it to the Laffey touch. Everything goes to gold. From marathons, bodybuilding, business, what you do with your friendships, relationships, everything. Listeners out there, go ahead and get your notebooks ready for just a master class of life. The one, the only, Mr. Brent Laffey.
There we go. Thank you, guys. Very kind words. Very kind words.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you. So the most surprising anything I found about you, Piatone. If you Google Piatone, Illinois right now,
Very much.
it literally says village.
Village?
Yeah.
I'm not making this up. You
where is
can
it
pull
at?
your phone out.
It's 45 minutes south of Chicago, but
Okay.
when I say that, it sounds like it's Chicago. It is, backwoods, hillbilly area.
The whole village, less than 2 square miles.
Not a stoplight. like no stoplights.
Oh damn, he's like.
So
that.
did you actually? Is that where you went to school, or did you actually grow up in Peatown?
I grew up in a little town, like a village outside of there called Green Garden, and it fed into Peatown High School.
Okay.
And yeah, the big, mean Peatown High School.
How many people went to this high school?
Not as bad as you would think, because it took in Illinois, they consolidate a lot of towns.
Okay.
So we had like 4 or 5 different towns. I think we had 500 students in our high school. So not big, but not tiny.
Yeah, not
but if
small,
I went to Green Garden High School, it'd be me and like 8 guys.
The graduating class?
Yeah, 100%. Like
Wow.
two girls, options aren't too good. You know. So.
Well, all right. Well, shout out to the Blue Devils. It looks like they actually put you on the right path there.
But it was awesome. I mean, it's one of those
yeah.
towns though, like, everything was about sports, Friday Night Lights, like that whole thing, and like the towns came together for it. But small little farm town, it kind of like reminds me of like a movie, right? Like,
yeah.
everything was around football. If you didn't play football or sports, there wasn't much there, right? So pretty much everybody did. So it was kind of a cool town to grow up into, and still my best friends are still from that town.
Growing up, was there any example of success in that little local region?
Not like when you come to Nashville, right? It's like all in front of you and you can see it. They're not really, but like it's kind of different, right? Like there's a lot of farmers and like they're successful farmers, right? They're just a little bit different about how they go about business. So there's definitely successful people, but it's not a lot of not much flash, not to the level you see in towns like this, but there's definitely a lot of successful people, but a lot of it was ag based, which is very different.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Which gives you a lot of appreciation for things.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Knowing how successful you are now and then reading about Peatown, I'm actually still more surprised that you're coming from south of Chicago and you're a Packers fan?
Yeah, it's a wild one. It's like my dad was a Packers fan, and because the Bears were popular in Chicago, it was really expensive to go to games. Back in the day in like the 70s and 80s, Green Bay was horrible, right? And they would play in Milwaukee. Super cheap to get tickets, so it was easier to go to a Packers game in Milwaukee than it was a Bears game. So literally, he was a Packers fan. Then I thought, I was interested in what he was.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, dude, I don't know how old you are, but like everybody's like, oh, you picked them because it was Favre and then Rodgers. Like there was a quarterback named Don Majkowski who was the quarterback before Favre. That's like how old I am. And when it's called the Magic Man. And I was a Packers fan when he was there. And then all of a sudden, the last 35 years have been great, right? Rodgers, or Favre, Rodgers, now hopefully Jordan Love.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, hopefully Malik Willis. I don't know, y'all.
Yeah, no, for sure, right?
That was a get-back game against the Titans, though, but that's a whole nother topic.
Dude, it was wild.
That's
cool
great.
story, though.
Yeah, that's awesome. So starting out with a village of less than 2 square miles into this empire that you have now. I mean, seemingly to get into the basis of what this show is about.
Yeah.
Anyone who's kept up with you or even cared to look back on the things you've done, you've been all over the world. You spent a lot of time in London, which was very meaningful in your life, I'm guessing.
Right. Brought back something.
Yeah. But out of everything you could have done, everywhere you could have gone, why Nashville?
Honestly, that's not a great story. Started a small business named Armada in Chicago, and we were landlocked and had no idea it was going to actually grow. And our first year, it just exploded, right? And we did not have more space. We couldn't buy land there, couldn't add to the building. It happened to be that in Spring Hill, Tennessee, there was a contract manufacturer for sports supplements that they built in 2014. A lot of PE money, built this thing like the Taj Mahal for the industry. And after 1 year, the PE company, they weren't seeing a return, wanted to just get rid of it, right? So came down here, and dude, we were in 5,000 square feet in Chicagoland, and this is 330,000. So I was coming down, it was kind of like going to the...
Hold on, say that again.
Like the showroom.
Hold on. How many commas were in that?
No, but like, I'll explain that whole thing. Is like, literally it was like, let's look. We're not going to buy, right? It's kind of like don't touch kind of thing. So we went there and I thought it was going to be like
if you break
just
it,
a little bit of a learning lesson, like, and also like see what big looks like, right?
Yeah.
And then they were like literally offloading it, and it was an asset sale. And the issue how we fell into a little bit of luck is if you already have a big facility, you're not going to buy a facility that size.
Right.
If you're pretty small, going to that is like, so there was almost no buyers for it. Then we decided like on that trip, like let's make a run for it, even though it was way out of our league. And we came down here in April of 16. In June, we took the facility over. And it was cool. Like, I was in Illinois, had no plans of leaving, just left like that, didn't know where to live. Literally, I'm like, between Spring Hill and the airport is where I want to live. Franklin. Did no idea what Franklin was, what it was like. Just found an apartment and kind of lived there, right? So a lot of things that just like was kind of out of our control and just moved because we wanted the business opportunity. So we closed on that and moved here in 16 and feel very lucky. It was cool. The facility that was shutting down, they were laying off all the people. And they told us that if we could start it by July 1st, they would run the facility up until that last week and we could keep all the people employed. So
man, that was nice.
Even though we did not need all those people in the beginning, we kind of thought like if we could get through the first few months, one, you'll have a huge morale boost. Yeah. And two, you have people that are skilled instead of hiring them back. Mm-hmm. So we kept those 120 people employed, which was awesome. And, took these people over and put them under Armada and off we went.
Wow.
Man, that's a crazy story.
Yeah, trust me,
story, though, yeah.
The first year was not smooth. I mean, there were times I was like, what in the am I doing? Am I over my head? Have I lost it? And we had our firstborn child that month, too, that we took the facility over. So it was a lot going on.
Wow.
And the first year was not like a highlight reel by any means.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah, so obviously, listening back onto that intro, your name is synonymous for success in this fitness industry in this city. But, like, going through that point, like, whether it be before you got here or anything here, like, what is something that, like, people don't know that would probably respect about you of, like, a struggle you went through, a failure that taught you a lesson, like, what's not a highlight reel you want to talk about?
There's tons of them, man.
Yeah.
Like,
see, people don't know that about you, though.
2016 through 17, like, to get to that facility, we pretty much had to, like, take and I was very lucky that in my 20s to early 30s, I made a lot of money, and for my age, and took it all and threw it into Armada. And then to get to that facility, to keep my ownership and my equity at the same level, I had to basically put everything I had. And when we moved to Tennessee, like, I won't get to the exact amount, but the savings account was basically nothing, and it was all in on that. And I was kind of at times torn of like, I was so lucky in my 20s to make a bunch of money, and then to just throw it all kind of on black, it felt like. Yeah. At times I wasn't so confident. Like at the end, if you see the end result, it's like, oh, he knew what he was doing, a smart move. But in 2016, man, like we had so many months that we had to get to a certain revenue standpoint for us to be able to, even make payroll and things like that. And I shit you not, like it was October of 2017. If we did not get black or green, however you want to look at it, like we would have had to figure something out, like either selling equity or do something. And we weren't going to get any loans. And I kid you not, that was the month we finally hit green. Like it's like almost sounds made up. But it was like, and I'm thinking like plan B too, right? Yeah. Like what happens? Yeah. I have now generally no money in my savings account. I'm not giving myself any dividends because there's no dividends to be had. And if we don't, I'm going to have to like figure it out, right? Yeah. And I think that like humbles you. And I still feel it. Like there's
I can
times
tell by the look on your face.
Like, I mean, like, it was scary, right? So like those were humble times. And you had all these people around you and you have to act confident even though you're not confident, right? And I felt very lucky that I had a lot of people around me who believed in the company or believed in me, even though at times that like it could be shaky, right? So tons of like good people that we had from the beginning that I'm very loyal to still. Yeah,
that sounds like a Wolf of Wall Street movement.
I know, man.
Not fucking leaving.
Yeah. I know. right. But what's that like though, man? Like knowing that you put it all in, no backup plan, and you just gotta ride it out.
People
like, what is it like,
dude?
Though?
Like things happen. Like always, like when you get in a bad situation, you look back. You go like, you never meant to be in that situation and things kind of snowball. Right. Like I never once, like day one when I started, I was like, I'm going to put it all on the line. Right. It's like you put some and then I had to put more. And then you're so far deep. It's like, shit, well now I'm like all in, right? All in, yeah. And it was scary because it's like, we just had our firstborn child. Then in June when we took the facility over, and then not the smartest move, 4 months after my wife has had the baby, we get pregnant again. So we have a second child.
No time. Yeah. Oh, he didn't waste no time.
Yeah, like no. And like
stress relief right there.
Yeah, which is like the opposite. Yeah. Short-term satisfaction, like maybe not a long-term plan, right?
Yeah, I have a 1-year-old, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So I was like, what in the am I doing, right? Yeah. And then this sounds even almost crazier is our second child was born on August 17th of 2017 on a Sunday. And I kid you not, I had the baby. That Monday, I was still at the hospital, and my secretary called me. And she's like, you got a envelope from the FDA. And inside that envelope was not great news. And it was from a previous audit. And literally at that point, I thought like the world was coming down. And then honestly, like within the that seemed to be like the rock bottom. Then right after that, everything just started gradually getting a little better, a little better, a little better. And then all of a sudden, like kind of in October, it was like all of a sudden we went from like being uphill like this to like slowly coming downhill. And then all of a sudden breaks started happening. I felt like we were getting lucky, and then we were in a much better spot. But for the first 14 months, I was in a pretty bad mental spot. But I hit it pretty well because like as a leader, right, you don't want, if everyone sees you being nervous and you're not confident, it's like, and I didn't even really, like Victoria, my wife, I mean, she knew what was going on, but I like didn't really bring it home either. So it was almost like this weird, like, it felt like a kind of like a, not a lie, but like.
How do you balance like pushing that down and like hiding it versus like pushing it down too much where your like mental health spirals?
I think I should have, like looking back at it, is like probably talked about it a little bit more because like I became so obsessive in that period, and like I still, like, I don't regret certain things, but I became so obsessed with that business because I think it was either fight or flight kind of state that I like neglected a lot of other parts of my life, right? Like personal life, probably even the family side. It was just like those like first 3 years of Ramada, like it was the most unhealthy, unbalanced, like, you know, you're at work, say 12, 13, whatever hours, but you literally, the next 5 hours you're home, you're on your computer, on your phone. You're not, you're physically there, but not like at all. And dude, it was 3 years of that. And I mean, it all worked out in the end, but like sometimes I wish I would have handled some of that stuff better.
Yeah.
That's growing though, man. Like there's no one looking back on it like that. But because as entrepreneurs and business owners, man, like that's kind of what you have to do, I feel like.
Yeah, I think there is that. Hopefully what you hope is there's a point where you have to do that. And then like if you can't get out of that route at some point, like that's a problem too.
Yeah,
right?
it is though.
Yeah.
But I was like so unaware of it. Like I'm like, this is normal.
You just in it. Just every cat,
and everybody around me is like behind my back being like, this guy is a psychopath. like he's like out of his mind. Like, and like now we all laugh about it, you know, but like people were like literally like thought I was like, you know, clinically insane almost for a little while.
I mean, I feel like that's like a common characteristic of someone that is very like ends up being successful.
Yeah.
But only so many people have it though. You know what I mean? So when you see it, it's like, oh man.
I feel like sometimes I was like too stupid to know it. Like that makes any sense?
Yeah.
Like
it
you're
could be
so
a good thing.
Yeah.
It could be a good thing.
But I do feel like a lot of entrepreneurs like almost like glorify the hard work.
Yeah.
And it's like, as you know, you have to go through those long days.
Yeah.
You know, grinding all day, like hard work to get through that. But I feel like some people stay in that.
Yeah.
Because that step of like struggling is almost like glorified, but then that step to thrive. Yeah. Is there any like one thing that you could put your finger on which put y'all in the green that started snowballing in the right direction?
At the time, I wouldn't have said this because I was like, just like, kind of like, not exactly. I was just everywhere, right? But looking back at it now, is I had probably 7 or 8 people around me that literally like almost acted like they owned it, and you know, like they were owners and like that, and like they were working maybe differently, but as hard as I was. And honestly, like the loyalty and how they like took that, because one person in a facility that big and that big of a company can't carry a company, right? And like having them work like I was working behind the scenes, I mean, it was just a team effort. Yeah. Sounds cliche and kind of like whatever, but like I look back as I got lucky.
I wanted to ask that question first because the one thing that I've mentioned is you haven't said other than the negative stuff, pushing it down. Everything else you've said is we. And since I know you know a little bit of your story, I know that some of those we's, we're talking about you and Victoria. Yeah. But it seems like every photo you take, everything, you're surrounded by, you know, whether it be people like, you know, Brendan Curry, C-Bomb. Right. I feel like Victoria's in every picture, which is awesome to watch y'all. You know, Eddie, like the whole crew, like it. How important is that to where you've gotten now to have
everything? Like, it's like, dude, if you win by yourself, how fun is that, right? Like, I mean, like, literally, like, I've never found that fun. It also, if you guys played sports, I think sports backgrounds, like, that's a good thing. Especially if it's, like, a true team sport, right? Because, like, you win individually. Is it really that fun to celebrate with people? So if I'm rich and nobody else has money and can't go out, like, you know what I mean?
Nah,
like,
it's not fun.
So, I mean, that's at the higher level, but the smaller is, like, man, I like that kind of like competitive thing, and like you want people around you, right? And I think that's, to me, is like fun. And even people who don't work for us, like Eddie's an example. Like he doesn't necessarily work for Carbon. He's just a friend. But I know that dude will always glorify us, market us, talk, and like you want them to be part of it, right? So like I think that's kind of a huge thing. And like I've been so lucky, is like I had 7 or 8 young kids at the time work for me at Armada that were so loyal. And I think like when you have that in the beginning and that kind of nucleus, you want that everywhere you go. Maybe you can't recreate it perfectly at each place, but you want that, right? When you see what that can do. So yeah, it's definitely, and then and the bad things, it's like, if you're the leader, you kind of gotta be the person to take the hit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, generally if you're making the calls, right?
Yeah.
Heavy is the head with a crown, what they always say, you know, it's true.
And in Victoria, for sure, like, dude, like, she let me be, like, and especially in Armada, like, if I had a, how do I put this politically correct, a wife who was, like, controlling, demanding, like, dude, it would never have worked. Either the company would
double checking everything you did with all your money.
Or just even, like, where I was at. Like, she just let me be me, and she's, like, kind of her thought process was, like, when I'm ready to, like, be, like, you know, more balanced, I'll do it. But if she tells me, she's like, you'd have gone the other way. Yeah. So she just let me do my thing. And I think, like, looking back at it, like, that huge, right? And then I think when you're running a business, you're stressed, especially in the beginning. And if you have, whether it's a girlfriend or a wife, or if it's even somebody like who's like always like, where are you at? What are you doing? Why are you working? Like, that just can get to you, right? And not saying right or wrong, but like, I would feel very lucky that she just let me do my thing. A lot of women would not have been. They would have thought I was having an affair or something. Like, why are you gone all the time?
Yeah.
Where are you at? Like,
working too much.
Never once thought about that, right? Man. So I do appreciate that a ton.
Yeah. Got to, man. Shout out to your wife, man.
Man,
for real.
Yeah, she's cool.
Where did y'all meet?
At work. She's from London, obviously.
Yeah.
The original company I worked for was called Pronova, and I was running the nutrition division. They moved me over to London to do a 3-year stint there. And before, I knew I was going to be doing that for like a year. So then at one of the Christmas parties in the U.S., she came over, and it's one of those Christmas party, you know?
Yeah. Like a movie. Like a movie.
Yeah, so then I was moving there, so we just started slowly dating. And then when I moved there, we moved in together.
Yeah.
And then when I moved back, she moved back with me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's the accent, man.
Every time. It gets you
she can say
time.
something like brutal, and you're like, oh, that sounded so nice.
This is why you take criticism so well.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds very polite with tea and crumpets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With that accent, you can almost get away with anything.
Man. So, I mean, going from a town that was less than, I mean, the size of Piatone, what it sounds like, is now you're buying out rooftops that are bigger than the town you grew up in.
This gym is bigger than the town you grew up in.
This place is incredible.
It's crazy. This is crazy.
This whole gym is absolutely incredible.
Thanks, man.
You mentioned a lot of different things that all kind of come back to the same thing that were even in the name of the first gym.
Yeah.
Culture. You've talked about morale. Just like the emotional side of things and things like people around you.
Yeah.
Of course, on Google, it's Carbon Culture in Franklin.
Yeah.
This is Carbon Performance. So for those that don't know, kind of talk about the difference, what culture means to you, why that was in your name, but like the branding difference as well.
Yeah, no, good question. Yeah, when we first started, it was like honestly like a side project, right? And I just love the name Carbon Culture. And the carbon whole piece is like the whole, it's a robust element, one of the toughest elements, right? And I feel like anyone can relate to that. That's like what the ultimate goal is, right? And then culture was like, I mean, it's like, dude, I didn't want to go to gyms where it just like, there's all kinds of gyms, different types of gyms, right? And like, I feel like it's like one where like mutual respect, people pushing each other, but being respectful, but also like wanting to be more than just a gym, right? So our first tagline was more than a gym. And it can mean many things, but like I want it to be a place where it's like it's not just where you go lift. It like it means something to you, right? And I think that's events, that's doing charity things, that's honestly advertising and holding a standard to the gym that you're not going to allow certain things that kind of makes people come together. And that was kind of the whole thing. And the big thing was all around strength training though. Like the whole premise of it is like literally focusing on strength training and pushing one another to kind of make the next, the better version of you. And that was really what it was. And started off as a passion project. Then we had a couple opportunities to get into bigger gyms. And then now it's turned into like an actual business, right? But truthfully, like when we opened it, it was literally, I have this much money I'm willing to lose to open a gym. That's my own gym that I want to lift at. And that's really what it was. Victoria, are you cool with this? Yep, cool with it. Then we started getting a little bit more into it. Like I first was going to do 4,000 square feet, maybe have some personal trainers, whatever, right? Then we started going down the rabbit hole of gyms, and I'm like, fuck, I think like there's nothing in Franklin where I want to lift. So we started kind of creating what I wanted, and Victoria really helped in design. We opened the first gym, and it was literally tiny. It was 4,000 square feet to start, and we did this like grand opening, and we had like all the kind of typical athletes we have.
Yeah.
And like it blew up on like social media, and it made it seem bigger than it was, which is great marketing, but also then like that's not who you are, right? It's you walk in, it's 4,000 square feet. So then we doubled the size to 8,000. We did one in Murfreesboro, and then after we did those, like we realized like we need more space to do what we want to do or to make it a business, right? So then we quickly went to the 32,000 square foot model, which we took over FAC.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how it started. And then performance, the reason why we got rid of culture, dude, for SEO, as we go to grow this thing, is it's super hard to like get people to realize carbon culture is a gym. Like you guys know that, some people in Nashville do, but if we go to like Atlanta, Georgia, carbon culture could mean could be a car exhaust place. It could be whatever, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's
so
true,
it's super hard. So we changed it to performance.
See, I wouldn't even think that until you said it like that. But
so we tried to do the tagline where it was like carbon culture more than just a gym. So people then like, no, it's a gym. But you can't do that like on like Google if you're just doing, you know what I mean? So like, ultimately, as we scale it, we change the performance. But man, I like the carbon culture name better.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Works in the business model,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
So it's good, yeah.
But we got a barber shop here,
Well, that's
randomly
the first
called
thing
Culture.
I came in and I told Terry, like, hey, it's a barber shop?
Yeah, but they're just down the street, and we were going to do a barber shop here, and their name is Culture Nashville. And I was like, this must be, right? This is like a sign. So now we have some element of culture in here.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's a one-stop shopping here. I walked in, I like the barber shops here. I can go work out, shower, go get a shave, dude. It's crazy.
Exactly.
On the conversation about culture, coming to Nashville, obviously the opportunity to take over that facility at Armada was, I mean, something you just couldn't turn down.
Right.
But the culture of Nashville, and you talking about like building a culture here, it does seem kind of interesting for like the outside non-gym goers. Nashville as a whole has like a drinking culture. Like it's just a party culture.
Right.
It's not really known as like the healthiest city in America by any stretch.
Yeah.
And especially if just knowing what we're known for, Broadway, boozing it up pretty hard is like what people think of or what they do when they're in town.
Right.
Yet it's where you ended up with this like nutrition empire. So what's your opinion on the culture of Nashville as a whole?
Yeah.
And why you're able to do health and wellness and be successful here?
Yeah, two parts. Is when I first moved here, man, like there is a cool like underground culture of like strength training, bodybuilding, powerlifting here. Like it's there, right? And like the people are so awesome. It's like when we first even got like before I even opened a gym, but just being in the kind of bodybuilding scene, like I mean there's good and bad with everything. Like there's some but like there is a legit proud community of people like what Nashville brings from bodybuilding, right? Our strength training. So like I kind of fell in love with it. It was way more like of a culture here than it was in Chicago. I think Chicago is really spread out, so it's like you don't feel it. Like here, if there's an event, you go to it. Like say it's you know, it's an NPC show, it's Whitney Weiser's show or whatever. Like you know all the people. Like it's very like you network, right? You go to a show in like Chicago or Illinois, that's like not it. It's all like strangers, right? So I felt kind of like it's different here. You got to know people, became part of it. It's like becomes a family. Some of the family you don't like, some you do.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's just naturally how it is.
It happens.
It is what it is.
So I felt it right away, right? And then like the nutrition piece of it is like, I think like that was already here. And then now you have all these people moving in here. Yeah. And I think the people moving in here sometimes are coming from like more healthy conscious, like what you'd consider like California or, you know, whatever. Yeah. So I think it's just like, it's doubling down on what's already there and people are moving in and fitness is becoming a thing here. I think it's like, I mean, there's some pretty damn good gyms around here compared to a lot of areas. And I think it's the fitness community is really growing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's definitely good to hear you say that because especially like, you know, Christina works downtown. It's like sometimes all you hear about is like going to Nashville to drink. You know, it's
all
like
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, man, the fitness industry, like we've been doing this, but you know, we had to jump in there too.
But I mean, I have been on some rooftop having some beverages with you. So that balance has to be there, but it's just it's sometimes hard to get away from like what you think the city is known for versus what you're doing. I think that any part of change that the city is experiencing, I mean, it would be hard it'd be hard to say that that's the direction it's going without like everything that you've done to really put that on the forefront.
Yeah, dude, I think it's as good as any community when it comes to like, especially I've used bodybuilding because that's what I was in, but like, I mean, dude, like everybody knows everybody wants to be part of it. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's very much there.
Yeah, and I want to talk more about your bodybuilding when we come back after a break from our sponsors.
Welcome to Game Day Men's Health in Green Hills in Nashville, Tennessee. We are a men's health clinic. We're doing a lot with testosterone replacement therapy. So welcome to our clinic. What you'll be able to do is get your blood work. We'll send it back to our in-house labs. We'll test your total testosterone, your PSA, and then your H&H as well. So we'll get those results within about that 20-25 minute mark. You'll be able to sit down with our licensed clinician and go over your results. We do a lot with medical weight loss, vitamin injections. We have a few ED services as well. And then we also do a lot with peptide therapy as well. And it is something that you want to move forward with if it makes sense. You should be in and out in about 45 minutes.
But we are back here with Brent Laffey at Carbon Performance. It's a beautiful gym here. Before the break, we were talking, kind of mentioning a little bit into your bodybuilding, the different bodybuilding cultures of Chicago versus Nashville, things like that. Let's go a little bit through your like sports, your fitness. Did you play sports when you were growing up?
Like 3 sports in high school, and then played football in college.
Where'd you play?
Illinois College. It's a D2.
Okay.
Yeah. So just kind of want to.
What position?
Safety.
Okay.
Safety.
There you go.
Yeah.
Defensive back. Another defensive back. They'll get left you hanging. Don't leave you hanging.
There it is.
There we go.
There we go.
So, yeah,
DB,
definitely.
DB, baby.
Kept playing, and then, like, dude, they got right out of college and, like, didn't want to do anything, right? So, like, the first couple of years, like, 23, 24, desk job, started getting fat. Just from, like, I stopped training completely because I was, like, I was, like, almost depressed that, like, sports were over. Didn't give a shit what I was eating, probably drinking a lot, and, like, had a job. And, like, about 2 years into it, I'm like, okay, this shit's got to stop, right? So I got into running, actually, first.
Okay.
I did a couple marathons, and then I'm like, dude, like, this is, like, great. I'm skinny as hell now. I need to start lifting, right? So I hired a coach to get into, like, I didn't know if I was going to compete, but just get into bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And then, like, for me, it's, like, that's cool, but, like, I need something that, like, is competitive at the end of it. So I got into bodybuilding just solely to have, like, a end goal almost. So I did
when was this?
My first show was 2016.
Okay.
And literally, like, looked like shit looking back, but, like, I was happy as hell, right?
Yeah.
Leanest you ever been, biggest you. So, like, and it just becomes addicting because then you want, like, you get into it and you're like, I know I can beat that, right? And then it just becomes that. And then then a couple of years ago, I'm like, okay, there needs to be an end to that too, right?
What are your workouts like now?
I'm all over the place. I'm training for a Chicago Marathon in 3 weeks.
Okay.
So I'm running a shitload. So I still try to lift 4 times, 5 times a week. So kind of like what's popular now, that hybrid athlete, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm like running and lifting. I guess that's what I'm doing. So I'm making fun of myself. But yeah, like last week was my biggest week I had. It was like the peak week for the marathon. So I ran 54 or 56 miles.
So I'm assuming it's a full marathon.
Like, or like
26,
yeah, this is a real marathon.
Yeah, 26.
At one time or throughout the week?
I did 56 total.
Okay.
My biggest day was 22 miles on Sunday.
What in the, like, there's no way.
Yeah. So my point being was I was into bodybuilding, and I was like, I got pretty big, but like I became so unathletic at the end of it. And I'm like, I need to do something where I just force myself to become more mobile and like back to like being on my feet. So the only way I could do is like, let's sign up for a marathon. So sign up for a marathon, and now we go.
I end up feeling that way with strongman sometimes because like heavy lifting, as y'all know, like it's a lot of anchoring through your heels. But like all sports is up on
you play football, right?
Yeah. So, I was taught in football, if I see somebody with their heels on the ground, you're a target all day long. Like it's going to be a long day for you, But now I say it all the time in the gym, like get your heels down, get your heels down. And sometimes it's hard to switch that from being anchored through your heels versus being light on the balls of your feet.
For sure.
And going too far into like too long of anchoring through your heels. And like you said, like I feel like unathletic sometimes. It's like, got to be able to move because like I know what I once was able to do
That's the frustrating part.
Yeah.
Though. Like you in the gym, like, damn, I used to be able to do all this stuff, man. Like you got to just make yourself do it. But
100%, man.
To your point, man, I think that's the new thing right now, right? If you can blend those two,
and there's a balance. Like,
you know what I mean? Got to be a balance.
Balance. Like, yeah, if you want to keep muscle on, you can only run so much, right? I've lost 22 pounds since I started running. My body fat has not really changed. So what does that mean? I've lost 22 pounds of muscle, I think.
Jeez.
I mean, probably not, but like, a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's tough, dude. If you're running that much, like you can only eat so much, and running just, takes the muscle right away, I think. Yeah. So it's hard.
So with the journey of like learning how to like dial in what you enjoy, what's giving you the outcome, whether it be aesthetically or psychologically, like that you want, because like it seemed like all of this lined up all at the same time. Like when you really started getting successful in business, buying 100%. A huge facility, when you started getting competitive in bodybuilding, all of this all started together. So how has like professionally but personally, like in your athletic stuff, how has that paralleled? Were you feeling really successful but like terrible at working out, or flipped, or like how, and what did you learn in learning how to be a bodybuilder that helped you kind of overcome some of the obstacles in life?
Well, that's a good question. It's really weird is if I look at like bodybuilding, I did it like, which is a very selfish and time-oriented sport, did it like in the midst of like Armada. And I think what I look at it was like, you need like every like CEO or everybody who runs a company or something has like some passion. It's an outlet. Some of them not good, right? Could be drinking, could be gambling, could be working out, right? And I feel like that was like my little getaway, right? Like as long as you know how to time manage, you can find the time. Maybe you're maybe it's a little less sleep, maybe it's whatever. But I felt like I got like addicted to like, that was the day, like part of my day where I felt the endorphins and I felt good. So I would not miss it, right? So like it was wild that like in bodybuilding was the busiest I ever was professionally, but it just worked. And then just like, I feel like it's like excuses. If you want to do something, you can find the time. You maybe instead of sleeping 7 hours, you're sleeping 6, but like you can do it. It's your choice whether you want to do that, right? So I found time, and I got addicted to like every person does. I thought I was going to turn pro, got third, I think. So whatever it was, 1 away, 2 away, and like that was like enough to just like keep you hooked, right? Yeah. And then what I realized is like I was never giving myself time to rest. I'm so addicted to things that I actually like almost like my own worst enemy. So I'm just competing like crazy. You're never like growing or resting and shit like that. And I found I just had to be like, okay, it's time to like pause this, right? And then also I went to play basketball at the same time. I'm like, fuck, I am like so unathletic now. I need to change this too. So like it was all kind of like at one time, right? Yeah. Yeah, but I like on the basketball court, I can barely go side to side. I'm like, something's got to give, man.
So, one of my dudes just said that yesterday. Like, I mean, he's like 40 plus. He's like, dude, I didn't realize how athletic I am. I look crazy doing squat jumps. I'm like, you can get to that point, not even realizing that you're there. Though,
dude, it's wild, right? Yeah. Especially, I think like if you're still like lifting and shit, like you can run straight pretty good. Mm-hmm. But that's that like side to side movement, man. When I was playing basketball, I was like, I don't even know if I can guard somebody without tripping them. So yeah, it was kind of like the last like year and a half I've got out of bodybuilding, and then like I was missing something. Like I'm like I have to have like an end goal or a competitive like something, right? So like the marathon is like now I have a time goal I want to hit at a certain, and I want to like stop losing weight. So I'm like I want to be 210 pounds at least, and still I want to run a sub 3 hour marathon. So like that's now my goal. We'll see.
Good goal. It's a great goal.
Yeah. I mean, good for you. I mean, I ran a 5K and I had to take a couple days off.
That's fair though. Yeah. You still did it though, right?
Yeah, I did it because some of the members of the gym wanted to do it, and I mean, technically, Christina and one of our small dogs beat me, but that's neither here nor there.
First, he's going to be like small dog. He's talking about he's talking about his dog.
Yeah. Actually, dog. Italian Greyhound beat me at a 5K. Italian Greyhound.
That's awesome.
Well, at least you lost to a Greyhound. I'll say that.
I mean, my bulldog couldn't do that. So it seems like at the height of your professional success, you still needed something to push yourself. In your brain, like how, because I can't even fathom your level of success. And like, I say that and saying like, how do you continue to stay motivated and competitive in the professional world? And do you feel like you are? Yeah. Is that like why running's becoming back a thing for you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't feel like that's successful, like, right now. It's like they're all doing Denvers, you know? So it's like we got to keep proving ourselves.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, you want to – I mean, you can look at things and be like, hey, this is pretty good at surface level, but it's like you have an idea in your head where you want to be. So, like, me internally is like we need to keep getting better. But you got to be different towards a team too, right? Because I also look at, like, I use Carbon for an example. Yeah. The team we have is very solid. The guys we have running, and they've kicked ass. They've executed everything you want them to do. Well, we still want to get to here. So you kind of got to internalize that and not tell them because, like, they probably know. But, like, if you're, like, always talking about where you want to be and not kind of being happy with where you're at, you can rub people the wrong way, right? So that's one thing always you have to kind of balance of, like, how you say it, who you say it to, right?
Yeah.
Like coaching. It's like coaching, man. Like, you got to, like, you know what I want, but I got to make sure I'm really, you know, fine-tuning the verbiage I'm using to you and whatever, because we all have our own definition of success.
Yep.
So what do you think your definition, like, at the end goal of success?
Well, it's like when you start training camp, too. It's like where you want them at week 1 versus 4.
Right.
You can't be mad at them week 1 because they're not at 4, as long as, you know what I mean? So it's like kind of like portioning up where you need to be. So, yeah, but I mean, like, I think we have big goals for some of the things we're doing. And it's like, that's why I say, like, I don't view it as like we're successful yet, right? Like, hey, Armada was successful. That's done now, right? Yeah. And these are all now in the midst of it, and they're doing good. And we have, like, especially in Carbon, like, I'm very grateful that we have, I think, the right people. So I know we'll get there. Just we're not there yet. Yeah.
How do you – is there something you had to do? Is that just always how your brain worked of, like, coming from a actual village to be
Indians running around.
to be where to be where you are now, to be able to, like, look in the mirror and say, like, I'm not successful enough yet.
And then I wouldn't like I'm not trying to be like a hard ass or anything like that. I think, like, overall I can say, hey, I've been successful, right?
Right.
But in some of these new endeavors, they're like we're not where we want to be ultimately, right? Yeah. And I think it just like it happens over time. I don't think you're not born that way, like, but it's also about your, like, the people you hang around with, right? Like, that's so much of it is like the friends I had from the village. Yeah. Shockingly enough, the, like, 6 or 7 good friends are all pretty successful. And I think you start there, then you meet your next group
look
of
at
friends.
Piatone.
Yeah, the only 6 or 7 left that are successful. But like, I think it's that group, right? You hang around with. Yeah. But then I think it becomes like internally, it's like, it's just you change so much in your adult. Like, I don't think I was this way when I was 23 or 24. Every year, it just kind of like you become a little bit more of who you're gonna be. Right?
Yeah, staying hungry and not getting complacent.
For sure. Sometimes I wish that, like, I wasn't that way, because it's like. One of the things I got to become better at is saying no, like, because it's like if you keep just saying yes to everything and you want to do everything, like, you are always chasing something, right? So I think, like, now is like, I think there's we have a couple good business ventures that we're going to focus on, and, like, saying no to other things and just focusing on those is the plan.
How hard is saying no, though? Like, once you get to that mode and drive, like, I don't think people realize, like, once you get into, I mean, I'm not there yet, of course, clearly, but once you get in that go mode, like, how hard is just kind of sit down and say, like, no?
I like to help people. Like one thing that, like, I'm better at now, but, like, I'm a sucker for wanting to help. And, like, I'm not trying to, like, give myself a pat on the back. Like, there's always some sort of, like, you can get stuff out of that too. But, like, I'd always have people who come to me and, like, pitch things, or, like, you know, like, and I took on a lot of them we didn't do, but, like, I was like, that's the hard part of just sometimes, like, just saying no, right? Like, you want to give people chances, but, like, if you listen all the time, it takes up so much energy and time. You can't focus on other things. So now I'm, like, a little better about that, of saying
Nashville's own little Shark Tank.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy though. Like, it's like I've had a couple of the wildest pitches you can imagine. Like, zero business plan. Like, I won't give away one, but this is a few years ago even, and, like, it's a bodybuilder, and he has a pretty cool last name. I'm not gonna give it because it'll give it away. Yeah. And he comes to me and pitches a whole clothing brand around his last name, has an idea of how much money he needs, what he's gonna do, right? All this stuff. And then, like, but then I get into, like, the actual business plan, non-money or non-name. One, the name that he has, the trademark's already gone. So, like, his whole business plan based around this is gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
And then he has zero idea of, like, what he's gonna actually do. It was just his last name, trademark it everywhere, blow it out. I need this much money to make this much money. I'm like, and, like, literally, I got, like, a 1.5 hour pretation of nothing, right?
Oh, God.
But, like, that's the stuff you sometimes run into, right?
Would you stop somebody? I mean, so say somebody came in.
It could have been
like,
an email.
I mean, yeah, really, though. But say I come out the street and like, hey man, like I got this idea, I got a business plan, but say they kind of not there yet, and they tell you that up front. Like, will you be one of those guys like, hey man, listen, this is what we need to do. Bring it back to me when it's cleaned up, and our mic can work. Like,
I think
what advice
less
would you
likely now if I don't know you. If I
Yeah.
know you, I think like I do probably like have that conversation and like
Yeah.
because you also do like I do like now is like I had a conversation out here today to someone like helping him on a venture he has, and this guy's going to be successful. He does not need me, but he's like asking me for some things, and like I'm helping him consult on it's a beverage, and literally he's like, "What do you want out of this?" And I'm like, dude, I don't, because like what I've realized is like if you do say that all the time, you get so tangled in things, and like, it becomes too like, you know. But like him, I know he's a good dude. He's going to be successful. But if there's a couple of things I can help him on, I'll help him on, right? So like that, literally in the middle of my workout today, was doing that, and but he doesn't need me. He's still be successful. So it's a different one, right?
Yeah.
But like if I can give him a couple points on manufacturing or things like that, I did it right.
So
he expected me to be like, "What do you want?" I'm like, dude, I don't, because then all of a sudden I am obligated to help more, and also I don't want everybody to think like if I'm going to help you, I need something, right?
Right.
Like this dude is cool as hell, so like.
So in the middle of your workout, how important is it for you to be seen being here versus not being here, so you can actually like focus and get that like you time like you used to get?
Yeah, if I have like I come here like only 1 or 2 days a week now.
Okay.
But like I don't really like try to have like if it's my less busy day. So if I can be, and I used to work out like an asshole, like headphones on, resting bitch face, don't want to talk to you. Right? Like I'm not like that anymore because like one, I'm not in bodybuilding, so like I don't need to be like that, and two, like you know when someone wants to talk to you, you don't want to be that person who like. I used to be like, this is my 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like.
Escape.
Yeah, like, don't talk to me. And I even had a membership at Lifetime for a while because I did not want to be rude. Like, you know what I mean? You don't want to do is you come up to me and I'm like, basically throw it like off. Yeah. So I used to go to Lifetime until they kicked me out.
They kicked you out. That's a whole a podcast.
Podcast. But I would say this. They politely kicked. They actually politely asked me to cancel my membership.
Okay, so they.
Okay.
And I politely asked him, like, this is when we were redoing Carbon Franklin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, man, we got 45 days to go before our locker rooms are done, and then I'm good.
So y'all worked it out?
He's like, no, it ain't going to work like that.
He's like, you piss somebody off then.
I mean, like, but I would, like, literally, like, I headphones in, didn't talk to him. That's what I loved about it. But I did wear Carbon stuff. So I'm sure he's like, that's self-promoting. And I get it to some degree. I wasn't going to be an asshole. Yeah. But I was like, just so it's clear, I have never once talked to one person or poached, like, you know, just for the record clear, he's like, that's not what, he's like, we gotta part ways.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's tough.
Even if I was really mad at you for opening up less than 4 miles from my gym, I would still take your money.
You might get some stragglers, though. I'm just saying, you might get some stragglers from there. You know,
for the record, you can have a free membership here.
Okay, hey, that's on record.
Yep, that's record.
Hey, what about me? Don't fight.
You guys got the lead. Come on in. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hey, we told you. I told you we look alike.
I promise you.
Yeah, we look alike. What do you mean?
We'll use the same ID card.
So, man, don't leave me out, dog.
We will go to the front desk afterwards and clear this out.
I mean, I might charge. I might charge you double, but.
They did it politely though.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And the guy, honestly,
we're not shit talking. It's just it's funny.
Yeah, and it's two different things. It's even like us.
And,
like Lifetime and Carbon are, dude, apples and oranges, right? And I mean, like, I get though why there might be some crossover. So I respect that. And if I owned a business that felt that way, I could see myself asking someone the same thing. So I was cool with it. But like, these are two different gyms. And he goes, I will send people here if they're not impressed with our strength training equipment. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Like, thank you. Like, like whatever.
So you're gonna do what you kicked me out for?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of thank you, but it's like you and I too. It's like, right? Like, you have your demographic.
Yeah.
And we may have some crossover, which is cool, but they're likely people who would visit both.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? But like, it's very different.
Well, if anything, and like I've told you this without microphones, but like once I've creepily zoomed in on the blueprints.
Very clever.
To figure out where you were opening up before you released that. It made me have to dig in deeper and have a little bit more confidence in my business model.
Yeah.
So again, like, high tide raises all ships, like, being able to do what we've been doing with the powerlifting community and things like that was only happening because you came here with what this culture is and things like that.
And that's why, just so it's clear, we do not have a monolift.
Yep.
We do not bring that shit in, even though people ask us like all the time.
Yeah.
But like that's not like one, that's not us, and that's
Yeah.
not who we're gonna be. But two, like for sure, we don't want to cross into that.
Right.
That confuses the member too,
Mm-hmm.
because we are not that. And honestly, like this is a good. I mean, that's not the member we're trying to cater to, and not that we don't respect that, but like you want to be good at what you're good at, and if we just throw a random monolift in here and it makes it perceive that like, oh, we have powerlifting and like,
Yeah.
dude, it's kind of like
People
false
do
advertisement.
get very confused. I
Yeah.
had a strange interaction. It was somebody who's visiting, so I don't care about putting this on blast. But someone called and was like, "Hey, we were in town visiting, and we saw your gym. And I wanted to call and double check. Like this, is like a hardcore like bodybuilding gym." And I literally, my first words to this person was, "I wouldn't describe this as a bodybuilding gym.
Yeah.
This is an old school powerlifting gym." He's like, "But you got like machines and free weights that I can like pick up and drop and chalk and stuff." I was like, "Oh yeah, that we have.
Yeah.
That we have." And I was like, "Yeah, here's the code.
Yeah.
Go work out, and then let me know, what y'all want to do," because they were moving to the area.
Yeah.
And I hit him back up doing follow-ups, like, "Hey, what y'all think?" And he was like, "There was no treadmill." Sad face.
Are you serious?
And I was trying to make a joke. If you've ever been in the facility, it's like there's not really a lot of cardio happening around. Yeah, and he was like, "Well, a cardio is a must because you must do cardio to stay lean." And then sent me a picture of his, like he took a picture of his laptop screen of what's his name? Oh, I'm gonna get roasted for not remembering. Serge.
The dude from Europe.
Yeah.
Sergio Consta.
Yeah. And sent me a picture, a Googled image picture of that, who was a Mr. Universe
And that's what he's trying to be.
bodybuilder.
Like, coming with you.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, you could also.
I was like, well, I did say it wasn't a bodybuilding gym, so you sending me a Mr. Universe picture.
But what a weird
Yeah.
Like, I would never do that. That's stupid.
And Serge was,
like, he
you
don't
know,
deserve to work out. Take
yeah.
it back, man. Like, just take the cold back.
But what a
bro. Like,
weird
It was such a weird interaction.
Like,
and,
I'm good. I don't want this guy's
yeah,
number.
and
Yeah, I don't want- I don't want to
but
hear
I
it
actually
anyway.
told him. I can show you the text message. I actually told him, I was like, well, if that's the look you're going for, maybe you should try Carbon in the Nations.
Oh, something to you, huh?
Yeah.
It's like,
hey.
dealer, send him to Carbon. I got you.
And then okay, now to make it worse because I'm an asshole.
I love it. It's all true
I went
to
back
say.
and looked at the cameras because I never met this guy. It was all through the thing. I was
Yeah.
at the Success Summit when all this was going on, and I gave him a code to get in
Yeah.
and things like that. There's waivers and QR codes and all that, and I just was curious, like, who is this person? This is a very strange interaction.
40 pounds overweight.
Not really lean, and then was legitimately right by the camera, and he was doing back squats just past like quarter reps with like 135. Like you're not even like.
Was he struggling with that? I mean,
struggling.
I'm thinking, was he about to jump with it, or was he
No,
loaded? I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
struggling. It's like,
Like a bent over.
all right, yeah. Every female at my gym's stronger than you, bro. Like,
So then he
You should text that, man.
100% after you say, he goes, go to Carbon. I got it.
Yeah.
From what I saw here,
should go there. I got a
every
free
female is
membership.
stronger than him
Yeah,
in
that
here
is
too.
true.
From what I've seen already in this gym.
Oh, we get our shots. We get
Yeah.
our shots. I guess.
Oh,
Fair.
dude.
oh man! All right, reeling this back in. So when you started like bodybuilding, not knowing if you would ever compete, is there any part of like your mind of your vision of where you were taking yourself, whether it be your body, your success, your family, all of that, to be able to be at the point where then you had business ventures with Mr. Olympians galore with Curry and C-Bomb and like all of that? Like, was that where are you? Because for us that see you and know you as who you are, and then see you standing next to C-Bomb or Brandon Curry and all of that, like it seems like it makes sense. Like success, whatever. Nutrition, bodybuilding, they go hand in hand. But like, was there one part of you that like, do you get to like take that breath and be like, this is wild to go from a village to this.
Yeah, no,
like this is cool as
yeah.
shit what you're doing in your life. Like, do you soak that in at all?
Like sometimes, but here's the thing about Brandon and Chris, they're great examples. Is like, I've had a lot of different bodybuilders that I've got to know and like, you could build relationships with.
Yeah.
And like, it helped that I was like in that lifestyle because you have like, I could relate to them in a lot of ways too, right? Even though I was very small and unsuccessful in that world compared to them, but it's easier to understand, right? But like those two specifically, like been lucky because of like an Armada, all the brands come to us, they bring their athletes, and then the athletes want to start their own companies, so they always reach out. So I got to know a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Brandon and Chris are the two that like stick out, and is why like kind of like you become friends and you latch onto them, because they are not like what the stereotypical bodybuilder like you would give that person's like what they stand for. Not saying it's all bad, but like Chris and Brandon are so different. They're very, very different. They're both,
it's a very selfish sport.
And they're the most unselfish people. But like, I mean, they can turn it on. I get it, right? Like they turn it. Brandon, like his problem why he wasn't successful in the beginning, it was because he was too selfless. He stayed home. Was the family man with 4 kids. His wife is the one who said, "Dude, you need to go away. Go to Kuwait because you can't like turn it on here."
Yeah.
So she like kicked his ass basically to Kuwait, and then all of a sudden he goes from dead last in the Olympia to winning it. Right?
Yeah.
So like that's his mindset, and he's an athlete too. First and foremost, he's not like some bodybuilders. It's either like you're an athlete or like you were picked on. And he's an athlete, so you automatically like he outgrew his position at MTSU when he played football because he's a freak. So he has a kind of a similar mindset. And then Chris is an athlete too. I mean, like he literally like if he wants to go into powerlifting, Chris will be successful. If he wants to go into CrossFit, he'll be successful. If he wants to be Mr. Olympia, well, he is, right? But he's just an athlete, and like I feel like they have a different mindset, right? So they kind of latch onto those guys. And they're just very different. Their egos are like nowhere to be found. And at one point when I was kind of building relationships with both of them, they're both the Mr. Olympias, right? Yeah. When we opened our first Carbon, Chris was the classic, Brandon was the open bodybuilding, and like I just found the fact that like they were just like normal people, wanted to bullshit, like selfless, and very different than what I was used to. So you kind of latch on to those two specifically. Yeah. Which is lucky. They both have been a different part of like, you know, with Chris, I'm in raw nutrition. Yeah. He does all of our grand openings. He's been super nice about that. And Brandon's been a partner, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Brandon's son is killing it too, football-wise. He's a beast, dude. Like,
he's a freshman who's injured at Clemson on a visit.
He's the next one up at the city, man. I've seen him live.
He's gonna be the real deal?
I think he's going to be nice, man. I know Brandon just from crossing over other people, man. But his son is nice, man,
He's crazy. He's a freshman, too.
Yeah, he's nice. He's nice.
He ran, what, a 4.49?
The genetics, because, I mean, Brandy is...
Yeah, she's good, too.
Wild.
100%. And like that's parents though too, is like they've had success, but like they've made those kids earn it too. Yeah. And like Max is he was a straight A student in 8th grade, which like usually athletes that are that good, they ain't giving a shit about school.
No, that was actually my cousin at Good Pasture. He was as a center, offensive lineman. He was the Mr. Tennessee finalist. He was the runner-up as a lineman, and he graduated with a 4.3 GPA. And then when the school found that there was another Harris boy coming up, they were like, whatever we got to do, get him here. And then I showed up.
Things went a little different.
Yeah, a little different.
4.31.
Half that. But so is there anybody that you've been able to work with because of what you've built that like has kind of made you like almost like a little starstruck, or like that made you being like, oh my God, or like...
I'm lucky, no. In one sense, because like I was kind of past that point when I was old enough and like kind of got past it when I started meeting some of these guys. I'm trying to think of like dude, I'm talking like early days when I was living in Europe. Like I went started getting into the business and met Jay Cutler. And it's hilarious. Him and I laugh about it. I have a picture from like 2011, and I am like the skinniest looking marathon runner, and he is like 4 weeks out from a show. Like literally, I'm the size of like his leg, but like he was kind of the first one because like I was seeing him in the magazines, never knew him, right? And like all of a sudden just met him for the first time. So I wouldn't say starstruck, but kind of like in awe, I guess, at the moment. Yeah. But then like the rest of them, I kind of got into the space, and luckily I think that helps because I don't like some of these guys when they meet like Chris or like it's like they're in so awe they can't even complete sentences or like become a little weird, right?
It's crazy getting to be in the same space as Chris, because it's like
but when you get to know him, you're just like he is just like he doesn't
you think that like looking like that you would be every female's just desire. And he's just got a trail of dudes that just follow him everywhere he goes.
For sure.
Like security from the dudes. Like
that's a hunt, dude. When we go travel with them, that's exactly. There's been a few girls, right? But they're generally in bodybuilding if they're obsessed with them. It's not like this pretty girl who we randomly see at a restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, he's so good. Like in Brazil, like he just rolls with it. Like they call him instead of C-bum, the way they pronounce it is kaboom. So they'd be coming up, and then, kaboom, 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 and like all in his face, and like
love that.
He doesn't like get rattled, but
Yeah.
like he's very consistent. You know, no highs, no lows.
Yeah.
But he's also, I think, makes him relatable. He's just like, he doesn't try too hard. Like he's just.
I mean, I feel like that any athlete. I mean, that's
Yeah.
you know,
That's key, though.
You have to manage all the highs and lows.
Yeah,
that
man,
even keel.
Dude, he's the most like I've just like literally like you don't really ever see like it just kind of like whew, like that. I wish
Yeah.
I could be like that. I'm like freaking some days like in one day I have a high and a low.
Yeah. On that, speaking to any of the listeners that might be listening to this, being inspired by your story, wanting to learn from you, if you could talk to a younger you and knowing what worked, what didn't work,
Yeah.
People that are up and coming with the amount of entrepreneurs this day
Yeah.
and age, what's like the biggest piece of advice you wish you could go back that might have made things a little bit easier on you?
Yeah. My biggest regret probably is like, this sounds weird because it's not going to help with necessarily like being an entrepreneur, being a CEO, is I wish I was a little more balanced. And I get you have to be like, to be successful, you have to be imbalanced.
Yeah.
Like I get that, right? Like to some level.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes when the blinders are on so much, like, and you're just so laser focused, you're actually not seeing other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I became so obsessive and so like, just no other parts of my life were getting much love. I think like that actually was a hindrance at some points, just because like I couldn't breathe and I couldn't relax, and I wonder like if I would have made better decisions if I was just a little bit more eyes open and a little bit more better perspective, right? So you don't know, right? But I think that I was like almost too obsessed, and I think one of the best things I did though is I hired and this is a difference. Everybody wants to hire an entrepreneurial coach or like I hired an executive coach that like wasn't about how to like make my brand big or make me big. It was literally just to make me a better manager, leader, but also just a better person, right?
Yeah.
And this dude, like the first meetings, like it was the most humbling shit in the world. Like he brings in all your people that report into you in your like inner circle. What's good about Brent? What's bad about Brent? Right? Just very plain and simple. He brings
like an intervention.
Yeah.
It's a real life intervention.
He brings it back. He brings it back, right?
Yeah.
And you have the good. And I'm like, fuck the good. Like, let's just get to the bad. Like,
Yeah.
you know? And like, you're going through it. And like, part of you, like, fuck, you feel like you got punched in the stomach, right?
Yeah.
Because like, all these people said really good things too. But I'm like, just hearing the bad, right?
Yeah.
And then like, literally, we get done with the list and he goes, do you disagree with any of this? And I read it through again one time. I'm like, no, it's all 100% spot on.
Wow.
And then that was a day where I became a lot better because then the way he worked with me, he knows how competitive I am. He's like, all these things that they dislike or, you know, agitate about you.
Yeah.
Like, it's your personal mission now to prove them wrong. So like you have to overcompensate, right? And kind of go the other way. And he knew with me is like, if you turn it into a freaking competition, so in 6 months when we come back, you're going to prove them all wrong and that you listened, right? So sure enough as shit, like I'm like overcompensating and like just little things, right? Like if I was in a meeting, one thing that used to irritate the hell out of people would be like if you and I were having a one-on-one meeting, I'd be looking at my phone when emails come through or text messages. And like, to me, it was like, I'm making sure nothing's blowing up because like, you know, all right. But like that was their time with me and I'm being super disrespectful. So then I like, first time I got an Apple Watch and I just put like a VIP list, which is a couple people, phone went away. So then all of a sudden in every one-on-one meeting, they're like, holy shit, like the thing that he used to be addicted to, he's actually put away. And like that's something small, but that like earns people's respect when you actually like listen to, and there was more things. I can go on a list of probably worse shit, but like that was like my turning point. So it was like investing in a coach who could actually help me become a better leader, even though at the time I would have been like, if they rate you as a leader, I'm a 9.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
But that might not have been my internal reading.
Right.
Right. So I think that was a huge turning point. So I would suggest anyone to get some sort of mentorship or coaching, but not about like difference between branding. Like now everybody wants to do like how they brand themselves.
Yeah.
And become like, that's not it. It's like how you can just become a better communicator, a better person, business partner.
Yeah.
And I think that's invaluable.
Therapy.
Yeah, exactly. But dude, he ended up becoming therapy for me. So I started with him in 2016, just until about a year ago, used them. And that's what it ended up being. So we get on our calls and I would just like be like ranting to him almost of issues, and he would like full circle turn it back to me, and like we'd come up with a solution, right? But it was like therapy that ended up with the solution, and it was like an hour of the day, once a week, that like was super valuable.
That's important though, man. Like a lot of people need to know that it's okay to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people think that it's a sign of weakness if I go reach out, but you know, it's not.
And then he did like, then you get him to go in advance, right? They take your leadership team, you can do meetings, you can find out where everybody's at. They call it like a DISC assessment, like are you a D, are you an I, in essence, and how you can work better as a team. And it sounds all like kind of like BS.
Yeah.
It's 100% right, because like if I'm a D personality, which I am, and you're like a social butterfly and very just like, we got to figure out how we're going to work together, right? And it like finds exact ways of how you should communicate, how you should work with someone. That stuff's invaluable.
Yeah.
Because instead, like you end up a lot of times just headbutting, and then it becomes like a war versus like how do we actually.
And what business were you at when he did that
Armada.
for you? At Armada?
Yeah.
So going with that through Armada, and then as you now have multiple businesses, do you know how many employees total are under?
A lot less now. We don't have Armada. Armada got to 800 and something at the end, but then I think
That's a lot of
Carbon has
livelihoods.
100 and something. Relive has probably like 250 maybe.
Yeah. How difficult has it been to not find a bunch of yes men around you?
That dude.
They could,
the first
they could
couple
continue to do that.
First few years
Yeah.
failed miserably because like Carbon was like my passive business. I wasn't in it day to day, so I was having people run it, and I was having people like the beginning like exactly that, and then also like kind of like faking it, you know, like now I have a crew like that I do like we have these meetings. We do a weekly meeting. It's called EOS. It's just a management system. These guys don't give a shit. They'll tell you exactly how they feel, and like literally it becomes more enjoyable. And then they don't do it in a disrespectful way, but they're going to tell you what's wrong, what needs to be fixed.
You can at least trust that they're being honest.
For sure. Even to the point of at the end of it, we rate the meeting. And they'll like straight up, like if it's not a good meeting, like they'll rate it that way. Whereas so much better and productive than everyone being like, yeah, it was a 10. You're great decision, you know. Like, so like we definitely now like, and we can always be better, but we finally have the right crew who's open, honest. And like they say the whole thing of like being vulnerable. That is it, like, right? Like, you need to, like, just let down and, like, let people be able to tell you the truth versus, like, guarded, right? And I think some of the problems that people had before is I wasn't in the business day-to-day. I come flying in, fast-paced. They're afraid to tell me either something bad or be, like, honest, right? Now it's like we've gotten past that point, and these people, like, you know, take that time to say, hey, here's where we need to get better. Here's what's not working, so on and so forth.
And it sounds like it's a cycle. It's like if I only saw the back of your phone, you know, I'm probably not going to, like, I'm not feeling heard, so it doesn't really matter what I say. So, like, now,
why waste
you're more, if you're more present, you're getting more honesty, which then helps you.
For sure, yeah. And we started, in Carbon, we started this system that we had in Armada. It's just called the EOS system. And it basically is, like, every quarter, you set these goals, and then every week, you go over how the company's doing, you go over your goals, you go over issues, and it's, like, open, honest, and then, like, you have a 15-minute resolution thing at the end of it. And, like, that's helped us a lot because, like, in the gym business, man, like, it's almost like it's acceptable to be, like, unprofessional in some ways. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, we've built some structure, but we try not to be too, like, corporate. But that little 1 hour every week, like, I think prevents a lot of issues where it just doesn't get heard, doesn't get said, swept under the rug, right? So I think it's we've kind of done a nice balance. We're not too, it's 1 hour a week. It's not, like, that big, right? Yeah. But it fixes a lot of shit.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Very.
And also, like, we want this thing to be bigger.
Yeah.
So we're looking at, like, here in, like, a little bit, we have a group coming in from Atlanta. We're trying to find a building there, right? We want to grow this thing to multiple gyms. Like, so now the way we're treating it is
ATL.
Like ATL. But, like, we're trying to treat it like when we have 5 of these, does our system work? You know what I mean? Like, so we're trying to make everything we're doing more scalable, even though we only have 2 right now. So I think we're doing a good job of, like, building a system that will work and we can plug gyms in and grow it.
Gotcha. Well, that kind of segued into my next thing is, like, as far as you personally, your family, schools, everything like that, are you Nashville through and through now?
100%.
Okay. You're not going anywhere.
Dude, Nashville is like I told you guys earlier, is like we blindly came here. Did no research, just moved here. This place is awesome.
What's your favorite? Not fitness, not business, anything like that. Like, just because of being
people aren't
here.
assholes.
People are not assholes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you about the people in the culture, but there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
It.
Yeah.
There it is. He
man.
answered
Like,
the
People
question
are not
already.
assholes.
Like East Coast has a thing, right?
Yeah.
West Coast has a thing.
West Coast has,
like,
yeah,
and I'm not
they
saying
do.
good bet for certain people it works, but here, dude, everyone seems, not everyone, that's a big.
Yeah.
Most people seem genuine and like very approachable. Want to meet, want to like, you know what I mean? I love it. Like it's at first I was in a different space when I moved here, and I'm like, why the hell is everything so slow here?
Yeah.
Like you go to the grocery store and the guy's holding your meat, telling you a 4-minute story before he hands you the meat. I'm like, can you just hand me the goddamn T-bone? And like, so at that time in my life, I wasn't like loving it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, you know,
Appreciate it.
Southern
Appreciate
hospitality,
it.
baby.
yeah, dude. Or why the fuck are these people walking so slow?
Yeah.
Like I would go to the grocery store and do like the 10 like the checkout, self-checkout, just so I
Yeah.
didn't have to deal with people. So in the beginning, I can't say like I was getting 100% down with it.
Yeah.
But now, dude, I love it. You have kids. There's things to do outdoors. Nashville's a hustle and bustle city now. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But you can go 2 hours and get to this, get 2 hours this way, go to Florida here. Like a lot of outdoors. Sports are big. Like there's so many good things about Nashville. And from a financial perspective, it's like one of the best states to be in, right?
Yeah.
So
What would you say is your like favorite non-fitness thing? Not sports, not fitness, comedy, concerts. Like, what's something that's here that you've like found yourself like looking? When's the next one?
great question. Music. I mean, we love music. So like always finding like, and all kinds of genres. So like,
Okay.
especially in Nashville, everybody comes and tours here. So like,
Yeah.
you can get any kind of concerts, right? My 7-year-old daughter, her favorite artist, Jelly Roll.
Yep.
We just talking about
Yeah, we were
Jelly
just
Roll.
talking about him
talking
before,
Jelly
yeah.
Roll,
Like, and my 8-year-old loves Taylor Swift. So I'm like, that is like the swing of the, you got Jelly Roll and
Yeah.
Taylor Swift in the house.
But
But I don't think if they didn't live in Nashville, like Jelly Roll wouldn't, if we didn't live here, like I don't think she's
Yeah.
going to be turned on
yeah,
to
probably
Jelly Roll.
right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. You were at the Morgan Wallen concert?
Yeah, took the kids to that.
Yeah.
Like I don't, people are like,
Were you on Saturday night or Sunday night?
Friday night.
Friday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was awesome. I mean, like,
Yeah.
dude, it's just like, I think that's like, we like all kinds of music, so we'll go to experiences, and the kids, like, might be
Did
young,
you see
but
the intro of what he did on Sunday night?
Peyton Manning?
Peyton Manning in full pads.
Are you serious?
Yeah, if you haven't seen it,
it's
look
kinda
that up.
weird.
I got.
Like,
I
cool
got.
and
I don't
weird.
like. I don't really care for Morgan Wallen, and I don't really like UT at all. But like,
Yeah. Yeah.
to watch Neyland Stadium light up to see an orange 16
Yeah.
again was.
I know it was crazy.
It was and like
I didn't see
then you
that.
got like Morgan like ready like I'm
Ready
about
to
to
go.
go tear the show up and like Peyton starts like winding his arm up, putting his helmet on like
Yeah, they had the quarterback now, they had the head coach,
Yeah.
they had Morgan, like,
Wow.
or, I mean, Peyton.
yeah.
Then Friday night, they had the baseball team who won the state
Yeah.
champion, or the state,
National,
the
National
yeah,
champion,
yeah. One of
yeah.
our guys over Liscombe, man, he's on that team as a freshman, man. So there's big things going on.
pretty
in
wild.
UT right now. It's a big
And they
movement.
brought
got.
out the trophy, and I mean,
Yeah,
it's
they
pretty
got a
cool.
big movement going on in
Wow.
UT right now.
Yeah, oh, dude, they're going to be, they're first in baseball, 5th in football, and 7th in basketball.
Yeah, it's
Like,
big
you're
right
top
now.
10 in your 3 major
Yeah.
sports.
It's moving.
I mean that's a powerhouse right
it's
there.
moving.
Well, NIL will help them because
Oh,
there's
yeah.
some of the best donors out there.
Yeah. So you already mentioned AT. Is that public knowledge or is that gonna?
We don't. I mean,
Is that breaking when this comes out?
Nah, hopefully we can sign a lease sometime soon. Like I'm
Yeah.
pretty open book on this, right?
Yeah.
So like that is one of the spots we've gone the last 4 weeks. We've gone to like 7 or 8 different
Yeah.
cities, all southeast for the most part.
Yeah.
So we want to sign 2 leases by the end of the year.
By the end of 2024.
Yeah. So hopefully
Okay.
Atlanta's one, but yeah, I mean we're looking southeast is pretty much where we're looking though.
Yeah. Okay.
That'll work.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
Any
dope, man.
more here? Or are you kind of like settled here and expanding elsewhere?
What's your thoughts?
As long as I can get this free membership,
Yeah.
over here, man, I
You-
come
you
talk
put-
to me
you-
about it, man.
You put one. You put one like way out, like northwest somewhere, a little bit more convenient to the house.
I don't think so.
Mount Juliet?
Truthfully, like
Yeah.
we were looking at it in the beginning.
Mount Juliet.
There,
Yeah.
Spring Hill even, but
Yeah.
like I think right now what we're seeing is like if we could do 10 gyms, right, and just making that number up, like
Yeah.
are we better to go into Tampa, Atlanta, Charlotte, Dallas, like pick the prime spot versus like trying to milk
Build it again,
this
yeah.
area here?
Yeah.
I don't know, right? So I wouldn't
How
say
much research is going into that, and how do you figure out like are you looking at bodybuilding? Are you like how
honestly
do you?
kind of trying to I wouldn't say stay away from. They'll come if you have the
Yeah.
equipment. They
Yeah.
will come, right?
Yeah.
Lifestyle is honestly what we kind of like. Is like if you look in here, you'll see some competitors for sure.
Yeah.
But it's like people who are pretty fit, pretty jacked. But like it's
I don't know if
kinda
my
like-
girlfriend wants me to look in there.
Yeah, blinders. But like weekend warriors. But
Yeah.
but if you live around here, you're making decent income because the rent's so high.
Yeah.
Disposable income, 24 to 35. They're either single, just got married, probably no kids, so they're willing to spend money on themselves. That's like a prime area for a carbon, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like we're looking in like the Nations is a great location that we're trying to find and mimic in other cities, right?
Yeah.
Regenified, don't want to be downtown, but you want to be on the kind of the outskirts.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're looking. And we have, I mean, there's reports. They got this thing called Buxton Report. You literally type in a zip code, see how many, like, you can do minutes, like minute drive. Okay, we want a 12-minute drive. It will give you the demographics of like the ethnicity, the age, what kind of people they are.
It's almost scary a little bit.
I mean, dude, it's crazy the data they have
That's
now.
a lot of data.
The income, like, so you can make a pretty good educated guess now where you put one of these things.
Man,
so
that makes it a lot easier for
a lot
you.
easier, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that's helpful.
So here, a lot of disposable income.
Yeah.
Nailed
Yeah.
it.
And
for
we love them.
And that,
Yeah, we got to.
It's good. It's
Keep
good
it
for
going.
you. Brent, I appreciate you being on, man. Thank
Thanks,
you
dude.
so much.
Hey, man, pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Meeting you, man.
Pleasure, man.
Yep.
It was a
Great-
pleasure,
great
We'll
man.
get these
facility.
free memberships now.
Yeah,
so
let's
that's
get
kinda
this
good.
going.
We're gonna go to
Hey.
the front desk and finish this out.
Like right now.
Yeah.
But nah, man. Hey,
Appreciate
it was
you being here.
Great episode, man. I know y'all liked it because I did. So if you did, make sure you click it, like it, share it, and we'll see y'all again on the next episode, man.
Boom.
Signing off.
Yep. For the love of Nashville. Tune in next time.